Do you ask God what to do, or do you make your plans and then ask Him to bless them? How does your faith really affect all your property ownership choices?
Moving forward with the Dekker team. Moving forward together with the Dekker team.
We are excited to welcome you to episode 758 of Life's Inside Track. And I'm Yetta Dekker.
And I'm Ken Dekker.
Thanks for connecting with us each week as we have truthful, real, candid conversations to help everyday Canadians build wealth wisely through life and real estate decisions.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes, we're excited about that,
yes,
right?
And you asked me, do you ask God
Right.
about what to do, or do you make your plans and then ask Him to bless it?
You do both.
Yes.
Yes. It depends.
Yes.
And it depends on what time you're talking about.
It depends when I'm doing it in my own strength or in my own timing, or I'm working towards doing it in God's timing and in God's strength. And it's a yes and yes. I have been doing both.
Maybe you're like Ken. You're still doing both. Or maybe you've mastered the art of surrender or yielding and abiding, and you don't do much anything without seeking God's wisdom first. I know years ago when we first started on CHRI, we had a whole series of advertisements, I guess you call them,
Yes.
that talked about what role does God play in your decision making. And if you want a realtor that can help you discern that was our commercial at the time, we said we would help you discern that. And we certainly did. We will pray with our clients if they're comfortable with that. We will not if they're not comfortable with that. You usually get a vibe. And if time permits in a given clarity call, even we'll begin in prayer or end in prayer or fit prayer in the middle. It just depends on the way the conversation and the whole thing goes.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, I think we're asking that same question again, 30 or so years later. What role does God play in your decision making when it comes to your housing and your property and your investing and your stewardship? All your big life decisions, and the ones we know the most about, have to do with real estate, whether you're investing or whether you're just buying a home or selling a home, or whether it's your 10th and you own 15 different units or doors, I guess we call them when you're getting it, or maybe a whole lot more than that. It's ultimately, does the decision you're making include your faith in it, or have you kind of separated them?
It's a great question. And, I turn to scripture sometimes when it's, the question is lying there and I'm going, James 1:5 says, if any of you lack wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. That's you, and that's me, and that's you, Yetta.
Yeah.
So when we're trying to figure out what we should do, should we buy a house? Should we move? Should we buy our first house? Should we invest? Should we leverage our house and invest in a property? Seek God for His wisdom, and He will bring it.
He will.
Isn't that cool?
This is a core truth, I guess I'm going to say, is that just because we seek God and His wisdom and His guidance, He may not give us the entire big picture, a full vision. Maybe you are somebody that gets a vision and you can see it all laid out and you're willing to navigate the things that don't go quite according to the vision, rather than getting stuck on it.
Right.
What I know for certain He will do, as long as you're listening, because I know when I'm not listening, it don't really work. And when you're not listening, it doesn't work.
Nope.
Right? Or listening attentively.
Yeah.
Attention.
Yeah.
If that's not where my attention is, I can't get the wisdom. But I know that He'll give me at least the one next piece that gives me just enough to stand in faith as I keep moving forward. Can you think of a real live example or illustration in our lives or in the lives of a client, Ken, where He gave just enough
Well, I think that, let me talk about Solid Rock for a minute, Solid
Okay.
Rock Realty. And, for many years we rented a space, and it's a fairly heavy cost to rent a real estate space.
A commercial space.
Commercial real estate
Yep.
space. And I knew that at some point God would want us to own something.
Right, because it seems counter sensible to be a real estate brokerage and have somebody else own the real estate that you're in.
Yeah. And, there were several properties that came up that maybe we could build on. We tried to connect with other Christians and think if we could build a Christian center, where people would have Christian businesses and prayer would happen. And, the person that was saying hello to you at reception would be praying for you as you came in to see the different business people. It was a great vision. And
we really attempted to embrace for many years.
We put an offer on one property that went nowhere, and then put another offer, conditionally purchased the property that I thought we were going to build out a big thing on right by the airport. And it didn't go. But I believe God gave us the next step, and then the next step, and then the next step was no, which was okay, because eventually it made buying the building that we're in now much easier, because we'd made other attempts at doing things.
And now, in a way, we do have lots of other businesses in there because it's also a collab space.
Mm-hmm.
Because then COVID happens, as we all know, and all of a sudden 11,000 square feet of real estate space wasn't actually needed anymore. But back when we bought it, it certainly was, or the majority of it was.
Realtors did a lot of work from the office. Now they do a lot of work from home.
Right. And so now we're actually having that center, but not the way we thought it was going to happen.
Nope.
Like, we couldn't have written the script.
And we're in an area right across the street from One Way Ministries, and we loan our building out to them sometimes. Sometimes they rent a room from us. The Booch Company is just down the street, and there's a church in there, and the Mets right down there. It's almost like God's redeeming that area, because there's a lot of Christian businesses and ministries going into that area. So did he direct there? Probably. And so sometimes I think in faith, you take one step and see what God says. Is he opening a door or closing a door? And sometimes it's not being so rigid and also set on the outcome. Like where I'm going to go through these obstacles no matter what.
Right.
As opposed to seeing, okay, here's an obstacle, God. Do you want me to go over it? Do you want me to go around it? Are you opening a different door? Are you taking me on a different path? All of this is part of seeking wisdom from God, I believe.
Yeah, and all uncertainty doesn't get removed just because we're walking in faith.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like Proverbs 3:5-6 says, lean not on your own understanding, in all your ways acknowledge God, and he will make your path straight. So even if it doesn't feel straight the way you would define straight, he does take you there in the best way possible if you're allowing that to happen. That's been our lived experience. And as soon as I kind of get caught up in my own intelligence and wisdom, and we've spent this entire month on best decisions, wisdom, how do we get the answers? Do we rely on AI? Do we seek other people's perspective because it was great for them? So is it great for us? And now we're at the end of the entire month, show number 5, and we're saying, if you have faith, if you're a praying kind of person at all, you might just want to ask the Lord to give you wisdom and insight and perspective and insight and discernment before you make your plans, and simply ask him to bless them.
Mm-hmm.
It does go smoother. We've done both. We've been together, I guess it's almost 50 years since we met, and we've done it right sometimes, and we had no faith to rely on for the first decade and a half, I guess. And so we certainly see the difference before and after.
Oh, yes.
And we certainly see the difference of when we rely on thy brilliant self.
Thy brilliant self.
Thy brilliant self. And when we look at the scriptures and seek wise counsel from other people too, that is in alignment with our values. We have talked about this in some of the other shows back over the last 15 years or so. And that is seeking wisdom from someone that doesn't have aligned values isn't wisdom. What we know is that if you're a person of faith, then seeking God will always bring you into aligned values, unity and alignment. And that's doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, I think also, does God really care about where we live?
I think he's more concerned about our calling and our identity and how the decisions we make align with that than the specific house. Whether it has 3 bedrooms or 4 bedrooms, I mean, if it's a matter to us because of the number of kids we're going to have or the number of guests we're going to have, then I do think he cares about the details. I do. And I think we can get caught up in little things that maybe aren't of significant importance. If it doesn't align with my identity and my calling and my stewardship responsibilities, then I think the address is less important. I mean, because it affects everything. Where I live affects what, Ken?
Well, it affects your finances, affects your generosity, your tithing, your hospitality, your stewardship.
How about your family?
Your family. Your generosity affects your marriage, your relationship, your peace. All of these things are affected. And that's why, we recently had a couple and they went to the bank and the bank said, oh, you're qualified for $1 million. And then they said, and in our discussions, we were asking about quality of life, what do they like to do and whatever. And they said, well, we want to tithe and we want to go on mission trips and we want to support this missionary foundation and we want to support this particular missionary. And I said, okay, so then what they said was, so the bank qualified us for $1 million, but we want to buy at 700 or 750, somewhere in that range. And so we were able to find them the right house and the right price range that allowed the rest of their life to continue on. And I think that's honoring God. If we said, oh, no, just, the pressure's there from friends and things to go, oh, well, buy the nicest house you can get, buy the biggest house. But then that would affect the rest of their life parts.
Right, and how they do everything. Right, because how we live does, like even how much maintenance we have to do and whether it's a big lot or a little lot and all those things are part of the conversation.
Yeah.
So what role does God play in your decision making? We go right back to what we were talking about 30 years ago. Yeah. Where does he fit in? And we're encouraging ourselves and we're encouraging you to remember to bring him in at the beginning, not on the tail end when you say, you got to make this happen for me.
Yeah, the size of your mortgage should support your life and your mission, not compete with it.
Absolutely. If you're facing any kind of important real estate related decision of any kind, I said, you might want to book, or we're inviting you to book a clarity call. It's free. It's about 15 minutes at dekkerteam.com. And that way you'll just hopefully get insight into your one next best step. Won't give you all the answers. It ought to give you some faith-filled direction.
Life feels lighter when we navigate it with others. Thanks for joining us on Life's Inside Track. And remember, when we move forward together, we've got this.
Moving forward with the Dekker team. Moving forward together with the Dekker team.